Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. This is the tournament conclusion video. I have plenty of data to analyze thanks to these amazing 8 battles that I played at the WTC 2021 single. So as I've told you, results, I was able to get the third spot behind Maxim Biba and Menno that I faced in the semi-final. And also, big shout out and congrats to my teammate from Switzerland that they managed to win the team tournament, beating some very strong team along the way. So congrats to them. Very amazing result for them to win this tournament. So congrats to them. Also to QTL and the Norwegian guy that managed to be on the podium. So let's move to my unit impact analysis matrix. I have to show it in Excel because there are so many data I need to move within the Excel tab. So it's not optimal, but it should be okay. So as a reminder how it works, on the left side you have my individual unit within the army list, and then on the top you have my opponent, the result, and the army. And also I wrote down the stage when I fight when I fight these guys, and I tracked the individual performance of every unit during all games, which is very interesting because at the end, when you played 8 games, basically you have some strong knowledge on the individual unit and how they perform for you. And then I also add some additional information. First was the secondary objective, which was secondary if I won it or if I lose it. And then also my estimation of the matchup before the game. I thought that was also very interesting, just to check afterwards if my estimation of the game was right or if I was wrong. I think that was pretty interesting to analyze in order also to learn more about the matchup of the list. So first thing first, my general, the Prophet on a Great Bull of Shamut. Basically some very positive performance from him. I think I took great care of how I use him, not taking too much risk. Basically, he died only one time against Master of Divination. Other than that, he did some good job. Obviously, in some games, he had less things to do, especially against Pavel from Poland, because it's for War Machines, so I know in this type of game, he will be hidden and play a lesser role. But in all the other games, he did stuff and he did it well, but I think it's also due to the fact that I think I'm getting used to how to manage this model properly, when to engage in combat, when to use magic missiles, how to use them, and definitely a lot of the kills that I did during this tournament was in magic. So that was also a huge when analyzing his performance, and I put in bold the MVP performance within the games. I think it's always interesting. So I think I'm very happy. Obviously I'm in love with the model because of the miniature that I have painted. So I'm really in love with the model, and I've a ton of fun and pleasure really to play this model. I will go here, but I have to be careful. It can be fragile. I mean, it's 5/5 up, so if your opponent is able to target you with a good amount of shooting, it might just kill you. So you need to be very careful. He is fragile to divination, obviously to War Machine, so you need to be careful. But occultism is very nice versus the monster, and he's a great counter charger because you cannot chaff him because he flies. So that was key in the way I built my list. Commissioner BSB, I went with a defensive build, no Onyx core here because I had no access. I didn't put alchemy, so I thought I might be better with a defensive build because I really wanted him to survive and to play this anointed star that can hold pretty much everything except 2 strong character maybe. So it was mixed performance from him. The group stage wasn't too good, basically, especially the 2 first game. I really sent him to suicide mission, and he died really quickly. And then afterwards, I got used to use him better. And if you see here, some very good performance along the way in the last 4 games, it was very useful for me, either within the anointed or then alone, especially against Menno, and then also Hugh. He was able to do some good things alone on his own. So I think I'm quite happy. About him, yeah, like I said, I sent him in 2 suicide mission, so yeah, that's that's up to me. Also, I forgot to mention, but when it's written in italic, it's basically user error. I think it's also important to write down when it's linked to the model itself and the build, or if it's linked to some mistakes by the user. In this case, as you can see, it was definitely my mistakes. So 2 comments. I think either it should have the 1-up armor save. I didn't found the point, but I think it's kind of key, or the Onyx Scroll. Lots of people at the moment are playing him with Onyx Scroll and then 2-up, 5-up. It's also an option, but like I said, in my case, I decided to go for the Adept Conjurer Witchcraft. The idea behind this guy is why I knew it's a solo event. You might get some negative matchup, and I didn't want to get some red matchups. As you can see in the estimation, I think I managed that pretty well. I didn't had any strong red and any big plus, so it's pretty balanced list that can fight pretty much anything. And also, I thought the Conjurer was a help, or at least that's what I thought when I built the list, is using Twisted Effigy to mitigate a little bit what Divination might do, and also War Machines. So that was the idea, and also it was pretty cheap. Binding Troll Carrier. So what can I say about him? Yeah, some decisive Raven Swing at some point, especially in the game against Pavel. It was really decisive from him. Obviously, it compensated some suboptimal decision, or the fact that the 3 Anointed didn't have Musician in this case. Other than that, I wasn't too convinced. It didn't do anything so important in the key games afterwards. Let's move to the core. We have the Bastion unit, so 23 Blunderbuss and Bastion. Pretty happy, despite the fact that they died a couple of times, but mostly because I used them to hold things really long. And they had some very good performance, especially against the VC, killing the Shrieking Goro, getting the center against Yug. So some very good performance from this unit. But I think what is key with them is you need to organize counter charge, so they can hold very long. And this definitely, I remember the time when I played them with Word of Iron during the Ocho, and I was very happy about the performance. When you cast Word of Iron, basically this unit is very, very hard to kill. So I think they miss a little bit this spell, Word of Iron, and also maybe I'm not 100% convinced by the choice Flaming Banner. I think Legend Standard or Banner of Speed are the 2 best choices here. The Vassals are very versatile, quite happy about them. They did, everything you expect from them, meaning for cheap price, be able to chaff, to flee, to score, to do quite a lot, kill some other unit if they get some good opportunities. They are versatile. They need to be aware of potential leadership issues, because I play a general on a bull that is very often far away from the rest. Basically, you are not always getting his range, so I need to play to pay attention to the 6-inch Infernal Brand, which is key to give them the leadership 9 that they need. So that's a key aspect that I need to pay attention to. 24 Vassal, I picked them to add some shots, add another scoring, have a Mage Bunker. So they did some nice wounds along the way. Finish the Rangers here. They did some good things, sometimes score. They put some easy token. At the moment they put a lot of token. I mean, when you shoot with 3 rank, it's 2 tokens straight, which is quite good. I didn't use them so much in combat, so it's a debatable choice. Then we have the 5 Anointed. Didn't start well the tournament. They died in some CC, mostly due to my choices. Basically, the choice I made in combat made them die. Other than that, here I put them at risk, but they still hold and did an MVP performance. And again, I mean, very strong final game, very strong against VC. So definitely a unit you can rely on. I play with them since a pretty long time, and yeah, I've never been disappointed. I like the fact that they can zone pretty well. Obviously, they cannot go that fast forward. It's the same march rate as the Lugar have, Disciples of Lugar. So it's not that fast, but they can charge far away, and that's also important. So yeah, I'm quite happy. Again, Word of Iron on them would have been very, very nice, because I haven't been able to buff them enough. That has been a problem, because very often I use the bull to operate on the flank, and then basically I'm too far to cast the ward save on them. So I wasn't able to use it enough to help them. The 3 Anointed, very nice. Yeah, here as well, very positive performance. Disappointing a little bit against Menno in a key combat against the Succubi, where they died. And the first fight, yeah, mostly due to my mistakes. But other than that, I'm quite happy about what they did. The amount of attack is quite nice. They missed the Musician, I think, to be more mobile. I think the Musician is very needed, and Paired Weapon was welcome in the list, because sometimes you might struggle with all these units that don't break Paired Weapon, don't break parry, so it was useful to get one unit with Paired Weapon. Kadim Chariot, yeah, mixed between some bad performance, some good, very good performance, so it's hard to judge him. I thought it's nice against the right target, but it's still a very fragile piece that can die anytime. For example, against the Sylvan Elves, that put me in a very bad position after it died against the Spears. You only have 4 wounds. If you fail Copen of Ward save, you don't have a good armor save, you can die. So it's hard to really rely on him. And also, I think mostly my comment here, why did I put that in red, is the fact that I used him mostly as a counter charger, and in this role I'm not sure it's the best choice, because basically I should have picked maybe Great Weapon to use him as a counter charger. So I don't think it was the best build of the Chariot maybe to use him that way. And then yeah, like I said, sometimes he can do very well, like against the demon in combination with the BSB, and sometimes it can basically do nothing or die really easily, like against the Sylvan Elves, or for example against the UD. So yeah, not exactly what I want from him, but I had some point left, so that's why I picked it. And the Shooty Titan to finish. So he died very often, as you can see, a lot of reds here. Sometimes linked to my use, obviously, if you check the games against Hugh, I mean, he was alone against 2, what can you expect? So yeah, also here, almost sent to death against the dummies charging him. So I mean, yeah, I put him in some bad position, but I think, yeah, basically you cannot expect much from him in combat, because you don't have a lot of attacks. And the Molten Copper is very situational, so you don't have a lot of attacks. So basically, yeah, you rely on not taking too many wounds to tie combat down. And I think what I wanted for him in this list was I use him quite a lot in the flank, and then in the flank with movement 7, you cannot come back in the game sometimes. So yeah, it was definitely, the shooting was good, don't get me wrong. The rocket battery moving, I think that was really good and did a lot. For example, against Sylvan Elves was quite nice to do some wounds on the Tree Father. So definitely the shooting is good, did a lot also the first game against Hugh. So it's definitely nice, but yeah, you need to support him in CC, and I think what I wanted to do with him wasn't possible to achieve that with the Shooty Titan, basically. So what can I say? Secondary objective, I won 6 out of 8. So very solid list on scenario. I knew that that flag was challenging, sorry. So I lost the one against Menno. And then estimation, as you can see, it's pretty balanced overall. My estimation was the following, so that's equal, meaning it's an open match basically, where both players for me have a similar chance, in my opinion. In 3 games, then I've identified 2 positive matchup and 3 negative matchup. So somehow the defeat against Menno was on paper expected, although I wasn't far away of getting better than that. But yeah, I think we can move on to the conclusion. So on 8 battles, 7 hard-fought game, basically. If you see my result, I mean, there are no 20. So it's only the 12, the 11, so on. Very, very tense games, mostly. Yeah, solid list with element that can hold charges against pretty much everything. Like I mentioned it, I think I mentioned it several times during the tournament, but basically the Bastion and the Anointed unit, they can hold a lot of charges, and that's for me one of the key strengths of ID, and it looks like it is design-wise, because of the new Infernal brand, that they should hold these charges. So I think I was able to play on that strength and use it to hold the charge, and then you can see the way my list is organized. I have some counter charge elements that can come in combat and basically make sure that after I can win. Obviously, if you pick a CC oriented list, you are going to be strong on most objectives. I think this is key for me, and this helped me definitely to win most of the secondary objective. The placement, for my list to perform well, the placement and performance of the counter charger is key. In this case, it was the Great Bull, the 3 Anointed, and the Chariot mostly. Sometimes also the BSB. It was key for me to put them in a position that they can counter charge and do a lot of damage afterwards. A slight lack of lateral movement, I think this is it's a faction weakness. It's also a design, fixing the design, so this is not a big surprise, but definitely I had to use maybe too often the bull in that role, and the bull could have been maybe sometimes played differently. So in this case, I'm particularly speaking about Untitled Titan that wasn't so able to play like I wanted to with him maybe. 6-inch Infernal Brand is very important for Vassal. I forgot it at some points, didn't cost me that much, but this is important and sometimes hard to keep in mind because 6 is pretty short. Too much sensitivity to divination, I mean, what is that? More than a third of my list is sensitive to divination, so that's quite a lot. I knew that. I expected the witchcraft to be able to mitigate that. It worked well against the first Master Divination of Daniel Macmaking from Denmark, and also when there is only an Adept Divination, that's okay, but the second time, when I needed to pick some other spell, basically I was in big trouble against Divination, but I knew that. Flag is not easy. I can possibly switch a little bit the core, maybe some small or big block of slaves with parry, switch something in the core section, especially if I remove the conjurer. And like I said, the Adept Alchemy, I think this will be the choice to go forward for me. So as you can see here, basically the elements that I would keep in the list are in green, element that I'm going to remove are in red, element that could stay but I'm most likely going to remove are in black. So these two, I'm going to move to an Adept Alchemy for sure. Here put something different in the core, and then with this point maybe try to find something that can move well laterally with a good mobility, or maybe the engine could also be an option to do some blocking. So there are some options, but I got some good learnings, and I have to give the MVP to my Great Bull of Shamot, Prophet on Great Bull, especially because of the last performance. I think that was a strong performance at the end when it mattered the most, and it was amazing. He could have died 10 times most likely, so I have to give him, but also some nice mention for the Anointed along the way. They did well, and the Bastion as well. So that's it more or less. Now we'll move back to the general conclusion of my tournament. So to conclude, fine margins. As you saw, very interesting and tense games. Plenty of knowledge on the list, plenty of knowledge on the matchup. I think in my estimation was okay. I knew I had some good game plan along the way. Maybe not too happy about some details, but overall I think I knew how to approach game. I learned some new things about some aspect of the list, and definitely I think I improve in my usage of the list along the way. If you watch again the matrix, you see some units, you have some red at the beginning, and then along the way I was able to improve in the way of using them better and managing better the risk maybe. Lot of time invested. I mean, that was huge because it's 8 weeks. As you most likely know, I have a newborn at home and a 2-year-old, so sometimes I struggle, to be honest with you. I had sometimes the baby in the baby carrier. I had to move when I was playing at the beginning. It was sometimes not the ideal conditions, but I think I'm ready to go back in live tournament. I will be able to be very, very focused after this hardcore mode test online. So yeah, that was cool, very fun time to prepare the game, discuss them, play battle report as well, analyze afterwards. It was very interesting to do, exhausting. I'm happy to have a break, but at the same time it's a strange feeling because straight after a tournament you're like, oh no, it's over, I want to continue. And just a couple of days before you were like, I will be happy when it's finished, I can paint again some miniatures and do something else. And shortly after you're already like, I want to play again, you know. So it's strange with this game, and that's why it's so addictive, in my view. Warhol, that's my personal view, but for me the games on Warhol have been more enjoyable. Obviously, first game was a bit special because I was not used to it. And then after 2-3 games, I found it more enjoyable, not because of the fancy 3D or stuff like that, just that it looks better and it's more enjoyable. Okay, sure, that's an aspect. But for me, speaking about the game itself and how you play, for me, just the fact that you can spare time on the setup and on all the tricks, basically the small corner, the reforms, all this stuff, just allow you to spend, first of all, to play less time to play a game. So you need less time than a game on UB, definitely. And then you can just use the time that you would use to do tricks on UB to generate new unit. You can just use the time differently on other stuff. So yeah, that's for me definitely more enjoyable to play on Warhol. Close combat oriented list, like I said, I think that was a close combat oriented list will be strong on secondary, and as you saw, especially in this type of knockout format, winning secondary is kind of huge because it gives you a very big margin of error. And I mean, if you start well the game, you have the good macro, you have a strong list, and you're going, you're well placed for the secondary, then you're on the front foot, and then it's up to your opponent to take the risk and try to climb back. So I think, I was happy that I picked such a CC oriented list, and that might also be an explanation to the people who wonder why I've picked such a list, because if you see most of ID lists, they definitely pick much more shooting than me. I think one reason was, it's my playstyle. I prefer to have something like that, where I have plenty of units and options in the game, and a lot of unit that can fight. Basically everything in the list mostly can fight more or less. And second reason was also due to the format, because I knew that I'm going to play all secondary and that I want to be strong on them. Good macro gives you the lead. Will allow mistakes in the micro department. I think that was it's important to remind that to maybe people that have less experience in tournament. But if you have a good macro, basically after like maybe you noticed that in my game, but in all my games I made some mistakes. But mostly in the micro area. Meaning, if you have a good macro, maybe you start the game, you are already on the front foot on the secondary, so you're starting around 13, maybe you expect to kill some stuff, so you're starting winning, and then you will do some mistakes, but this kind of mistake you can pretty much do quite a lot of them before it compensates the macro. So I think it's important to remind to the player that want to improve, guys, focus on the macro. Basically, what I could recommend you if you want to improve, take a screenshot or picture of the deployment, and after the game, you take the time to analyze that, maybe discuss it with a more experienced player, and you just try to figure out what was bad in my deployment and in my game plan, basically. And I think that this could help you to improve, because if you get that right, that's the most important thing. You cannot correct a bad deployment afterwards. It's hard to correct it. And then basically, once you got a solid macro, sure, you can always improve. Deployment isn't always perfect. You can always improve some small stuff, but then you can focus on these details and you know that the base is okay. It's also very important to estimate your games properly. I think it was key that I was also able to know when the match was in my favor and when it wasn't, and also what to expect from the opponent. Put yourself in the shoes of your opponent and think, okay, I have this list in my hand, what am I going to do against this Infernal Dwarf? That's very important for me, and how do I think my opponent is planning to win the game? On what he's going to plan the game? I knew that Hugh was going to go in combat and wanted to kill all my units. That's the game plan. There is no avoidance here. There is no, he could have avoided me, try to score secondary and play other, but I know that when you see the list, you know that he's going to, I knew that he was going to go for the combat and for the kill. And very interesting that the knockout format allows all factions to get a chance at single event. And I think that's very positive, because if you compare with an ESC, for example, which is maybe the most famous single event, not all factions can win an ESC. That's for sure. There are definitely the factions that can do some big score that are more likely to win an ESC. And in this KO format, I think that this was very suited to all type of list. And maybe if you check my list, it's not a list that's going to get a lot of 20s. It's quite versatile, and I think my list was suited to this format because I was able to get some small wins along the way, but no big wins. And I think that's very positive to notice regarding the format chosen by Frederick. And to conclude, thanks a lot to the organization team, especially Frederick. That's a huge amount of work for you. You organized like 6 events at the same time, so that's huge of things to deal with. So thanks a lot for the organization. That was really a blast. I had plenty of fun. I hope other people too. It was very nice, interesting games. I had really a blast during this tournament. And to conclude that, thanks a lot to you guys for the support along the way, the discussion that I had. It was very interesting. It was a very good time for me. It was a very long tournament, but plenty of learnings, so that's nice. And take care and see you soon on my channel. Bye bye.